everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bear Share Show. This is your host, Andre Matoyer, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people, and that is going to be mental health. Because of the topic, this episode is going to be a little bit longer, but that's okay because I think a lot of people need to hear this conversation and know that they aren't alone when it comes to mental health issues. So because of that, I am joined today by the little bit cute, but honestly more funny, Mr. Colin Denton. Colin, how are you today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm a great person for depression, everybody. I'm the spokesperson of depression and anxiety. How are you, sir?
You're also the spokesperson for Circuit City, right?
Yeah, no, that's our sponsor is Circuit City. But I was gonna make that joke, but Circuit City's actually still in business. So if you guys want to go ahead and support them, they're online. This isn't an ad, so we're not getting paid for this. But yeah, depression and anxiety. It's gonna be fun talk.
Yeah. Yes, and in all seriousness, this is something that me and you have talked a lot about for a while. So I'm really excited to do this episode with you, just to break down what it means to have anxiety and depression, what that feels like, share our own personal stories with it. I know people have come out to me and be like, Andre, you have this great life. And I'm like, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of crap that we deal with on a daily basis. So right. I think sharing that would be great for people. And, you know, hopefully at the end we can provide some inspiration in ways we have dealt with it and, you know, give people a little bit more hope.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's going to be the goal today, for sure. So thanks again, Colin. I appreciate it. So you said you are an expert about anxiety and depression. So what about anxiety and depression, like, what do you think those are? Like, how would you describe them? How are they similar? How are they different in your experience?
They're definitely not similar. There's a lot of speculation on that. I've learned. So anxiety is more nerve driven, and so it's more panic attacks, just being anxious. I mean, anxiety, anxious, everything, you know, and it kind of gets internalized with fear of doing things too, so it could hold you back. Depression is more of a cloud over your head. You're sad. You don't know why you're sad, or you know why you're sad. Your body just doesn't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything. People think you hate them because you're not answering texts or you're not doing that. So it's two different things, but they're tied together with mental health because, you know, people forget to actually, you know, they focus on the, you know, physical looks and stuff like that, but they forget that their brain actually has, it needs to see a doctor too. Like, you need to make sure that's got fitness in, get that going with your regular fitness. So
absolutely, yeah. That's why I think mental health has been taken such a backstage to other illnesses, and it's probably been only the past maybe like 100 years that we've really focused on mental health and
if that,
the causes and ways to treat it. Yeah, if that, for sure. So I totally agree. It's not just about the physical outside the body; it's also about the brain, and we forget about that. But yes, anxiety and depression. I know anxiety can also feed into depression as well, but I do like the distinction that you made. Like, anxiety is more fear-based, depression is a lot more I like that big cloud over your head, right? Like,
it's just internal.
I know some people that are totally immobile,
internal sadness, and like, I've had my days where I'm immobile, and it could span from, you know, just seasonal depression even is another thing too. That's a whole nother topic. It's just so much stuff. It's not another topic, but it's something that we'll probably brush by and talk about here in this whole conversation podcast that we're doing here. Yeah. Also, it's funny, like, so I'm nodding my head, thinking the whole audience can hear me nod my head and agreeing with you. So just laughing at this whole podcast stuff, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, it's different, right? I love it though.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again for wanting to jump on.
Definitely.
I know it's kind of talking about depression is not easy, first of all, but you know, you being vulnerable with me and sharing your stories is, I think, going to help a lot of people, and I appreciate that. So you have anxiety, you have depression, you have both, right?
Correct.
When did you first realize you had those feelings?
Well, I suffered from anxiety pretty early.
Okay.
Separation anxiety when I was in kindergarten, actually. So, yeah. So my parents noticed that there was a weird tick with me. Like, I would always put my arms over my head, like panicky look, and then I didn't want to go to school, so I'd fake being sick, and it was like crying almost, and they just got me to a point where eventually they just forced me to go to school. I mean, it was a hard time for them, but the weird thing is like the year prior I was in preschool for 2 years, and I was an independent little kid, and then my kindergarten year something switched, but yeah, that's when it started.
So that was anxiety for you, separation anxiety. Did that ever get better? Like after kindergarten, did it just become a little bit easier, like with school, or was that something you always used?
Learned to feel better? Manage it. I wasn't so anxious all the time. I was more panic driven. So something would just randomly cause a panic attack, and I wouldn't be able to pinpoint what it was. Okay. But I dealt with that on my own from honestly probably like 8 to 24 years old. 24 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a long time.
Like you're a straight up adult, and it still was there.
Yeah, and like the reason why is because I wasn't exposed to like the idea of medications and taking stuff for help, and like my parents never really explained it to my pediatrician or anything like that. And we just thought it was normal. Like I just learned it was normal, so that's how long that went on. So, and still goes on.
What about depression? So, depression's a little bit is different, obviously. Yeah. But like, when did you feel like you had depression, where it was, darker and deeper and more of a sadness for you?
It's funny. I'm supposed to be funny, but I feel like I'm being dark. But we're gonna get through this together, guys.
No, thanks again.
Yeah, I just want to be open because I want people to know that you're okay to talk about mental health. That's why I'm excited to do this with you. So my depression, I've noticed 2 times in my life that it was so bad. Like it was just, it threw me for a loop because I've always been, even though I was an anxious kid, I've always been able to hide behind my humor. What they say, where humor comes pain. But my freshman year of college, I stayed back in my hometown and went to a university here while my friends went away to Mizzou, which is just 2 hours outside Kansas City, and I stayed in town for college here in the city. And I just that was the first time, you went from preschool to, senior year of high school, friends everywhere, like friends all the time, to starting completely over and not having anybody. So like that was a little dark depression. Like that was the first time I felt depression. And I can pinpoint also an album, music that, stuck with me at that time that makes me think of that time. But this is also to discover that, that I was also gay. So it was a weird time,
Yeah.
I was finding myself, and I found myself, and then I found somebody too. But that got me out of my funk by actually meeting a friend, but it turned into a relationship. So
interesting.
That was just one thing. It was like self-discovery kind of brought me out of that. So in a way, it helped me with that.
I'm curious what the music was. What was the album that you associate that time with?
Okay, well, everyone knows Common is a rapper. He was from the 90s and stuff like that mainly, and now he's acting. Well, he had a really great album that came out in 2005 called B, and I still love that album. It makes me think of that time, and now I look back at that time as like kind of a good time because it's self-discovery, but I was depressed. So yeah, definitely Common's B is the album that makes me think of that time.
I will check that out. I'm probably gonna remember some of the tracks that were on it, if any of them were popular at the time.
Yeah, there's a couple, but definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first light depression. It was an appetizer, or the taste. So.
Well, the first time you can remember it being this is depression, and associating that time with that with that mental issue. I did notice that you said you were. It sort of came to the front when you realized you were gay. I know that many gay people suffer anxiety and depression. And this isn't a read. Like, no. I know lots of people on our social media that we're mutually friends with constantly fight with this every day. Right. It's very common. So, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think LGBT people tend to have higher rates than others?
I mean, we're hiding something. We, not everyone. I mean, not everyone comes out, gay, like right out the womb, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gay." It's something you have to hide, and you bury into your stomach, and you hide it as long as you can. So you get to
at least the generation that we grew up.
Yeah,
in,
that's for right? For our generation and generations.
It's a lot better.
Generations past, definitely too. But like, like you just like I had a conversation with my mom actually pretty recently, and she's like, "You're really good at making up stories, like just like with my writing and stuff like that." And she's like, "How do you do that? And like, how do you get there?" I'm like, "Well, I lied for 24 years of my life, and I was hiding something. So if I had to dodge a question or dodge of like, where were you at?" something like that, or why weren't you answering your phone? Because I was with somebody I was dating, or like my roommate who was actually my boyfriend, like I had to hide that from them. Had those situations. So you're lying a lot of the time, and it's not like a bad lie, and it's not a lie that you're gonna go to hell for if you're religious, but you have to protect yourself. It's a weird thing to focus on. You have to focus on telling the truth and lying at the same time. So you have to weave that in between, and it's a struggle. So it beats you down to lie, especially lying to people you love. So
lying to your best friends, right? Like
yeah, definitely,
dude. I've been there. I know. Like, I'm so glad that it's better for gay people now or younger kids. But like, dude, while it's better, it's not perfect. There's still people that deal with it today. But like coming out in 2005 when you were in high school was like suicide. Like, and I don't mean that.
No,
like, probably not the best word, but you know what I mean. Like social suicide, I guess. Like, not a good thing at all. And the little lies is true, man. Like little stories. What were you looking at, or what were you doing?
Right.
Oh, don't worry about it. You become so like quick to come up with like little excuses.
Yeah, I just actually forgot about internet history. I actually don't think I ran into that problem because I had a laptop, so it was all my my privacy.
So you're hiding who you are. That obviously all those micro times that you're lying, that you're hiding who you are, adds to that depression. Definitely makes sense. And I didn't know you had a boyfriend before you came out.
Yeah.
So that probably made it worse.
And like, it was hard. I will say it was also hard because there was a point where he came out before me, and there was a little bit of like we're still really good friends. Like we weren't. There was a time where we weren't, but now we're really good friends. But there was a time where he was like, "You better come out or I'm leaving," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
that sucked at the time." But I was like, "Okay, I'll do anything." So I eventually did tell my parents, but it was something that, when I look back on it now, that wasn't fair. Like, that wasn't fair. And he was older than me too, and so he had more time to actually figure out about it. And I just, it was a different situation for me. But that was a weird situation.
I mean, like, I get where he's coming from, but it's still, coming out should always be on that person's time.
Right.
But like, I get where he's coming from in the same sense. But that's tough for sure. Man, with depression, I've definitely been there too. I would say it wasn't until 2 years ago that I realized, like for myself, at least for depression, that I had it. I know that's like pretty recent. 2 years ago, I was in my 30s, but like, just a friend asked me a simple question, and that just was, "Are you happy? And when was the last time you felt truly happy?" And granted, I had like fun moments.
Sure.
I'd maybe gone to a city or done something cool, but like, I knew what he was asking. And like, when did I truly feel like not anxious all the time, or just not in like a rut, or just happy? And I couldn't remember.
Right.
I just remember sitting in my friend's chair, and I just all of a sudden went to like this dark place. And it was right after my friend had asked me, like, are you happy? And I was like, no, I'm just not. And I realized, like, I needed some help, you know? Like, it was not a good feeling at all. It's weird. Like, you feel trapped in your own brain, you know? What I did was I went, and you mentioned this earlier, you went and got medication.
Yeah.
I found that to be super helpful, but I know that there's a lot of people that find medication to be like a cop-out, or they don't think it works. Maybe they think it's a placebo, which is like, you know, it's designed to make you think that it works, but it doesn't. But I found that it's successful. But what have you? Are you on medication?
Oh, yeah.
And if so, like, how has that been
I
for
love
you?
it. I mean, don't want to say I love it. Like, oh yeah, drugs. No, I love it because it helps me be a human being. Like every day, I'm able to be a human being. I take Lexapro for my depression and also Wellbutrin for my depression because
I take Wellbutrin too.
Awesome pill buddies.
Yeah.
So the Wellbutrin actually beefs up my Lexapro. So my Lexapro can make me lethargic and, you know, cloudy, but happy-ish. But the Wellbutrin beefs it up, so I have energy to do stuff. And on top of that, for my anxiety, I take clonazepam, which is like Klonopin. I did just switch to that actually a year ago. I was on Xanax, which really didn't. It was great, and it's, you know, it's a drug that's, you know, goes around and people abuse it. I never abused it. Like, to me, that was like my safety blanket. Like, I knew I wasn't gonna have a panic attack. Hop on a plane. Before I hopped on the plane, I tossed one in. Maybe right before landing, I tossed one in so I know I'd be okay when I land. Like, it's just a weird thing. But I was taking a lot of those, and I knew I could feel when it wore off. And I did tell my doctor that, like, having it wear off, like, I didn't like that feeling. So he switched it to this, where I just take it twice a day, and I don't even know when, like, if my anxiety is going to kick in or not, or kick off or not.
Do you like it better than Xanax?
Yeah, because I definitely can feel myself. With Xanax, I felt it run off. And I also got used to it. I had been on it since 2012 is when I actually decided to take a stab at medication. And at first, it was just for anxiety. My serious depression didn't kick in till something happened traumatic in my life, and I don't know if we'll get to the point later, but something that did set me off.
Yes, actually, I think I met you when that happened.
It wasn't.
It's when we started first becoming friends.
I think, you know, we became. I don't even know how we became friends. Most likely, it was probably just the regular gay bullshit, where, hey, one of us thinks each other's cute.
Insta-hose,
yeah. And then, like, we'll friend each other, and then somehow the world connects us because we're friends with other people. But yeah, you did meet me in a trip the year where something happened pretty traumatic in my life earlier that year, and I lost someone that was really close to me. Like, he was 24 years old, and
it was like in February.
It was in January.
It was like pretty early in the year.
January. It was January 27th, 2018. And it was my little cousin. I know when people think cousins, they think they're not that close. No, my cousins were super close. Like, we're, you know, a huge family, but we're super close. And what triggered it most for me, of course, losing him sucked. But he had been reaching out to me a lot more the weeks before, and, like, saying, hey, let's go out. Hey. No, he just turned 21. I apologize. He would be 24 this year. He just turned 24. Or his birthday was 24. So he was like, I'm 21. Let's go out and do stuff. And I'm like, okay. It's like, well, you know, I go to different bars than what you expect. I don't know if you're into that. He's like, oh, totally. I will go with you wherever. And I was like, absolutely. And, like, he was a Snapchat, you know, cousin. You know, we'd always Snapchat back and forth. I Snapchatted him every day. Then we started talking. And he started talking more and being open with me about stuff. And then,
was he gay as well?
No, he wasn't gay. I questioned that. It did make me question that, and but we don't know why. We don't know what happened. So he was trying to get me to, you know, invite him out, come over, and I was totally up for it. And this was from, like, Christmas till January, till I had a Snapchat the night it happened from him. But we were talking.
And what happened, if you don't mind sharing?
Like, he shot himself, and there's no notes. There's nothing to know why. So,
dang, Colin.
I know. Just like the idea that he was trying to get like me to hang out with him more. And of course, I would hang out with them, but also like I think he was nervous about me being, you know, the older cousin. He's younger. Like, he won't want to hang out with me because he's older. But I wish I took advantage and faster. Because I never thought this happy-go-lucky kid I've known since his birth, would ever take his life. And I had no idea that he was depressed. And this changed my view on depression myself. I knew I was depressed, but it was just for me as like angsty teen listening to Brand New or whatever, just Manchester Orchestra stuff, just being an angsty teen. But he went through something that I have never had and I hope I never have to deal with. And so when we lost him,
man,
it set my mind to like, I will never do that to my family. I will never be able to put someone else in that pain. And he was in so much pain that he had to do it, and it sucks. And I wish I could have saved him from it. And I think with those text messages, could I have saved him? But right before,
I don't think that's fair. You can't put that on yourself.
It's hard because right before
you were there.
Yeah, because like it was the holidays, and then actually one of our aunts had passed away, so we went to the funeral. And I remember the good thing I have with this is we were at the funeral and everything, and you know, it was an older aunt, so it wasn't like a big surprise. I know that sounds terrible. I don't want to sound like that, but like,
no, I get it. She was older,
and so
you were expecting it. Yeah.
And so I remember that funeral was like could not find my shoes that morning, and so I had to wear these pointy ass shoes, and my cousin, his name was Tyler, he he was laughing at my shoes, and I was laughing at my shoes too. I got these from the Steve Harvey collection, and I was doing like James Brown dance in front of him. And like, I mean, I know it's inappropriate to do at a funeral. I'm saying this, but this is actually towards the end. So we were in the parking lot, and they weren't going back to my grandma's house, where we were going to go eat and stuff, and, you know, traditional Catholic funeral stuff. They were going to go out somewhere else because I think my uncle had to go back to work. And this is the last time I saw Tyler. And luckily he, you know, he came up and hugged me, and he goes, "I love you." And of course I told him, I was like, "I love you too." I said, "We're gonna go out soon." And that was Tuesday. And then that Friday, early Saturday morning, 3 a.m., I got a phone call from my dad, and he told me that my cousin had passed, and that was totally,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that was in just January of 2018. I know it's a long story, it's a long-winded story, and but that's what drove me down to a deep, deep depression, and it hit me in a weird way that I pushed it down so far that I pretended it didn't happen.
What did you do to push it down? Like, how did you push it down?
I didn't. Usually, people go to drinking and drugs and stuff like that. I didn't get on my medication for depression yet, so I was still having my anxiety, but I wasn't depressed. I didn't think I was depressed yet. I thought I was going to shake it off or just be like, yeah, you know, I had someone kill themselves in my life. Of course I'm going to feel sad for this. But no, I buried it way down, try to change my life and be something different. And like, that's what I wanted to do, but I was doing it erratically and out of character for me, and like too fast. Like, I was trying to be like different jobs, switch a different job, which actually that in the long run that was great, but I tried to bury it with other things. I traveled a ton, went out with my friends. You know, me and you took a trip with a group of our friends to San Francisco, and this is in November.
Yeah.
November, I will say in November is where it was the hardest, because not only was it coming up on the anniversary, and the weather and stuff was reminding me of, you know, it's cold, it's going to be cold, and that's when, you know, it was cold when Tyler died. But also one of my best friend's mom, who, you know, practically was my second mom, she had passed away 2 nights before me and you met in San Francisco. And so
in person.
Yeah, and I was trying to be funny and trying to be my normal self, and I thought I handled it myself. And you did make a good point, you know, that I was kind of hard-headed and kind of dickish, and it's not well. I mean, it was a wake-up call. Like, it wasn't a wake. I knew I was being that way, but that was the start of me realizing that pump the brakes. Something's not right in my head. Okay. Something's not going right. Yeah. And so I went to the doctor and talked about getting my depression stuff. Like, at the time too, like, I was dating somebody and I really liked them, and after Christmas is when I started to get, like, lock me in the room, turn off the lights, I'll just sleep. Like, just nothing brings me joy. And just like yeah. And so
immobile.
Yeah, it really does cripple you, and you can't.
It does.
You can't explain to somebody how you're feeling, or you can. No. Like, you can do that, but they may not get it.
You can describe it, but they're not going to feel it the way you are.
Right.
One of the issues that we run into a lot is our parents' generation. They've never really grown up with mental health being discussed.
They did.
So they just think of it as...
they did, but it was a different...
Not to the level...
Okay, so my parents, they were born in the 50s, so I'm the youngest of I'm the youngest of a boomer parent, so when I would have a panic attack, like, when we do family vacations, like, I used to have panic attacks, like, just randomly, and it's just, like, my body shuts down. I want to go to my bed, and I just want to sleep, cover my eyes, get out of the way, don't talk to me. They would more poke me, like, get over it, it's fine. Get over it, it's fine. You know, you're fine, just breathe, you're fine. And it's like, when someone's clamoring you and on top of you, and you're freaking out, that's not helping at all. At all.
So I think people need to differentiate between anxiety and depression is a mental illness, right? Like, these are things that you aren't going to just solve like you can an emotion where you just feel upset for a minute, you can cool off and move on. It's very different. There's actually chemicals in your brain that prevent you from moving on, so to speak, and just feel better. So I used to explain how antidepressants work for some of the students that would ask me in my human science classes when I taught that stuff, when we went over the nervous system and the brain. And basically there's two types, where your brain either the pills, medication stops your brain from absorbing excess serotonin. So serotonin helps you feel good in the brain. So if your brain naturally absorbs too much, that's going to leave you feeling lower than normal, which is what causes some of the depression. So some of the medications will block the pickup altogether, and those are called SSRIs. And again, those just help in the event that your brain takes up too much of those. They're called neurotransmitters, both serotonin and norepinephrine. That just helps with, preventing those the brain from absorbing too much of it. And then you have the other kind of antidepressant category called SNRIs, which are basically drugs that help produce simply more of those feel-good hormones like norepinephrine and serotonin. And if you have more of them, then if your body uptakes too much, then you should be fine because you have more that's produced. So that's the basics of how they work, but just to kind of give people a better sense. So these chemicals are designed in these drugs to help you. So don't be afraid of them, essentially.
Right. It's our bodies, and it's not even like you can say diets and stuff are going to help that. I don't know the science behind that necessarily, but like sometimes your guilty pleasures help you. Like, that puts you in, it stimulates your endorphins. Like, I may be sad or depressed for a hot second over something different, and then I'm like, mac and cheese, throw that down my throat. I'm good for a bit. I'm good for a bit. Well, I will say with being diagnosed,
food's definitely one that gets me.
Right, and we're bears, and like, of course we don't have, we do, but it just adds to our cuteness a little bit pudgy, but. It's like
but we cope with it in different ways. Like food is not a good one that I do, but like people have all sorts of ways they make themselves feel better when it comes to anxiety and depression. It could be gambling, it could be hard drugs, it could be all sorts of stuff.
True. That is very true. I was about to make a joke, but then you started talking about hard stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can't make that joke.
Well, on the flip side, though, there's good things. Exercise and diet. So, the diet does help make you feel better because you're treating your body better, and getting those nutrients to your brain and all that stuff can help. But also the working out. So you release dopamine that makes you feel better. It's a healthy way to kind of move over anxiety and depression. There's actually been studies that show that anxiety and depression can help, not as much, but can have a significant effect to mental health improvement, almost as good as medication.
You learned that from Legally Blonde. Endorphins make you happy.
I don't remember if that was in that movie.
People just don't murder. It's in that movie. Happy
people just don't murder.
It's just a fact.
Oh, it is.
It's in the movie.
Yeah.
You're getting all your information from Reese Witherspoon movies. Next up, we're going to talk about...
she's a lawyer and she did her research, so I'm going to listen to what she says.
But then we got to go to other movies like Sweet Home Alabama. But yeah, I'm going to say...
No.
I'm not... Okay, I should be a working out guy. Like, I used to, I grew up with sports and everything like that, but just I hit an age where I'm not as active as I used to be. I'm going to admit that. Like, I should be, but sometimes I'm definitely a worker bee. I'm on top of my work. I love working. I love to be busy with that. But for my depression and my anxiety, sure, I've got my, go-to treats, but I don't do them every day. They're in moderation. But this helps me beyond, I love it. Writing down your thoughts. Your feelings, your stories, anything you want to write. It just gets it out of your system, and it's almost like you're extracting it out of your body and feeling a little bit better about your feelings. And it's cool, and I don't want to say it's cool, but it's definitely interesting to go back when you're in a better mood and you see how far you've come from what you've written. So it's a journey, and it's terrible, but I mean, if you do a lot of the stuff to help you get out of it, and you can look back and stuff, even with pictures when we were in San Francisco, I can see myself dying on the inside, but on the outside, I'm a hilarious idiot. And
but a lot of people use comedy to hide behind some of their pain,
right?
For example, for your cousin, no one really saw that coming because he was always happy. Robin Williams,
exactly,
famous actor, comedian, makes the most hilarious stuff, but then people in his family were like, "Oh no, he was depressed," but he did a great job of hiding it.
He did, and
it's common.
It's very common. But so what I say is, where humor comes pain, and I've had pain. I'm not telling everything on this podcast, obviously, in my life that's been stuff, but there's stuff I shouldn't have saw when I was little. There was an incident, something happened when I was little that I don't talk about. Even though I pride myself on trying to make people laugh, I never admit I'm funny. I don't like to admit I'm funny. I don't think I'm funny all the time. It's like admitting you're pretty, stupid. But I just like to make sure.
I laugh at my own jokes all the time.
Of course you do, dad jokes. You do. But you're always laughing at yourself.
They're so good. They're not good. They're not good at all.
They're making me depressed, Andre.
Oh, no, don't say.
Joking. I can joke about that because I'm depressed. No.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going with this, with writing and stuff. Oh, with hiding, where your humor comes. It's not so much a bad thing. I mean, it is a coping mechanism, and being funny is not going to kill anybody, and it's not going to hurt you. But you should definitely check in on your friends that you think are happy. And I can say, you, sir, are lucky you had that friend ask if you were okay. Me, I did not. Mm-hmm. I think everyone just assumed it. It's here's this happy-go-lucky kid, and he's always funny, he's always trying to laugh, he's always being dumb idiot. Because I like to be, and I do, but behind closed doors, you can see this 6'2", 308-pound man cry hard.
You never know, right? I do that a lot. I try to reach out to people and just say, hey, like, how's life? I think people think maybe someone wants something from them when they do that, but I don't. I generally just am like, hey, like, I used to talk to you a lot more a year ago. It's maybe been a while. How you doing? You know? And I truly mean that, because
it's a good way
you never know.
that.
And maybe someone just needs to vent to you for a minute, and then that made their day. Like, if you have a moment, reach out to people.
And sometimes
that can definitely help.
Sometimes it does get annoying. I will say it does get annoying too. Like when I'm pretty open about it. Definitely want more people to be open about it. I don't want people to know that they're out there they're alone, because they're not alone. So like I do posts on like social media like, hey, I'm having a bad day and I just need to say something about it. And then people will say something, and it's not me looking for attention. It's just a way to like, because no one's asking me necessarily. So I mean, you asked me, but it's different because you're in a different city. But like, so I'll put that out there, just also for myself, but also for someone that's having a bad day. And then people do respond to that, and it makes me feel good. I know that took a sad turn for a second when I said no one's here for me. There's people here for me. They're like, they know when I'm like that, and they already know the answer. So that's family for you.
This brings up another point as well. Friends can be great as a source to lean on and talk to, but there is a point where it can be a bit much. Your friends, while they want to be there for you, they may not have all the answers. So in addition to medication, one of the other ways that I recommend getting support is through therapy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you're not a strict person in a straitjacket. Crazy if you see a therapist. I actually had a nice appointment with my therapist today. I do it once every 2 weeks. And if you want to think of it as anything, think of it as going to the gym for your brain.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and your friends can be great, and they know you really well. They might be able to offer some insight, but professionals know trigger phrases and words, and they know how to move you past where you're at. And that's why it's really important to not just have a therapist, but like do research and find a good one.
No, like for therapy, there's so much stigma behind it. Like, oh, you're a pussy, you have to go to therapy. But no person's ever been to therapy, but really they have. They've talked to someone about their feelings, like their spouse or their partner or their friend or whatever. It's definitely a pussy move to go to therapy. It's awesome. Like, and it's, I go to therapy every Tuesday. Well, not every Tuesday. I go in waves. So I'll take, a few months on, a few months off. Because sometimes you do get to a point where you're paying to just have a conversation about WandaVision with my counselor. We sat there and talked about WandaVision one whole hour, and I'm like, okay, I think I can take a break for right now, and let's build up some trauma for the next time.
But you needed to maybe that growth, right? Like you weren't able to get to that point before, so maybe getting to that point, it's like, okay, I reached a goal, right? Like it's crazy, because if you were at the point where you couldn't move, but now you're with someone in their office having a conversation about something, that is growth, And
like I've been going to therapy since probably about, actually it's been, I can't think how many years it's been. Jesus, is after I decided to get on depression medicine. I sought therapy again. And the thing is, like, even when I was a child, I have to say this, when I was a child, and I was having my separation anxiety, my parents did take me to therapy. So I've known therapy my whole life. That was more psychiatric therapy, and I've had my stints in psychiatric getting psychiatric help and being away for a little bit, and that's fine too. Like, it gets that bad. But like,
so how was that experience, if you don't mind sharing?
Good, because it pulled me out of something. It pulled me out of a dark space. I was so lost at a point where I was just like functioning through life just to get it over with, and I knew I didn't want to kill myself because I didn't. I got to that point where I feel like, oh my god.
But you just.
Yeah, I would totally be in that place where I could see where people kill themselves, but because what I experienced with my little cousin, I didn't do it because I didn't want to go. I didn't want those people to go through that pain, and I'll never downplay what he did. And I feel so. I wish I could help him for it. He was in so much pain that he couldn't take it, and I wish I could have given him some strength to help him out and realize it was going to be okay. It's going to not be perfect, but it'll be something. But he took it to a different place, and I learned from him. And I can't. He's definitely around. He's definitely definitely a cornerstone to helping me find myself again and finding out my depression. It's sad he's gone. I love him to death. Still love him to death. I still think about him daily, and just that was a turning point for me when that happened. So I've been going to therapy since 2019, probably March of 2019. I did a whole year of therapy. Then I started to wean myself off of it a bit, and it's definitely helpful. And don't think it's bad to go to therapy. Also, don't be afraid to take your medication. I can't get over that stigma at all.
No. So kind of the best ways that we've talked about, Colin, just to kind of summarize that is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Go see a therapist if you need to. Talk to your doctor about, what you're going through, and give medication a try. There are different versions of them. So if one doesn't work, you can try a different kind. Yeah. If the side effects aren't great, read about the do your research, read about that stuff. And then just give it a try. Right. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Some of them do take about a month to work, though, because your brain has to get used to the chemicals. Yeah. But if it's been a few months and it doesn't work, okay. Yeah. Then you try. And
it's a practice of medicine. It's not guaranteed going to be perfect the first time. It took a while to get my cocktail, like it did, and I actually just I just got my marijuana card because in Missouri, you can get it legally with your medical. Yeah. And I told my doctor about that. I was like, I feel pretty good. My medicine's good, but there's days where I'm just a little off, and I have trouble trying to fall asleep sometimes. And so I got my prescription, and I love that it's actually available and actually is it helps you out. I don't. I feel bad that it's just a different thing. I enjoy it. It's different now than what I did as a kid. Like back then, I was just doing it. It
reduces anxiety, but ironically, it can also cause more anxiety. But for the most part, it reduces anxiety. So it does help with that purpose.
It definitely does. It definitely takes that. I take it at night, and I'm huge into indica, and I'll take it at night, and it kind of just lets my mind do what it used to before I had my problems. It's just like focus on whatever I'm doing, like reading a book or watching something on TV before bed. That definitely helps get that out. But I don't use it. Haven't used it out socially yet. Really, it's usually at home because it's the indica. So of course it's going to make me, in the couch. That's the whole saying with that stuff. Yeah, that's
indica in the couch.
That's newer to me, and so I don't know as much about everything about it. So I can't be a professional on that. I'm definitely not a professional in medicine, but I know that I've experienced medicine longer for treating depression and anxiety. So I could talk more about that and stuff, but...
Yeah, and I do want to add, too, that, you said this a minute ago, it's not going to fix your problems, but it helps. I think a multiple-pronged approach, when I got out of my depression, which was 2 years ago, I saw a therapist, I got on medication, but I also proactively kind of just made goals and reprioritized stuff. And I was like, I have to do these things because they're sort of the cause of my anxiety. And I mentioned it in one of the other episodes about being in a rut, but I had to just sort of reprioritize stuff. But that medication and therapy gave me the boost to get those goals and get out of it,
right?
To where now I go to therapy because I need that. I find it to be helpful just to get that brain exercise and process things that I still feel like are unresolved.
Right. That's good.
But just taking pills isn't going to fix everything. I feel like you also need to add in those goals and maybe even exercise, stuff like that, to help boost your mood.
Right.
Further.
But don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to talk to your doctor.
No.
don't be afraid to look into counseling, tell your family, be open about it. Like I said, it's easier said than done. Right now I can say that because I'm in a good mood. I'm just chilling with my dog, talking to a friend about, you know, my life and my you know, what I've experienced. But it's definitely good to talk. And it's definitely not to hide it. I think it's something we need to actually, you know, the fact that it's not seen yet as important as like heart health and, you know, all that stuff. It's getting there.
It's getting there.
We got some stuff. We got some hills to climb for that. But I myself am trying to be positive and do a movement of my own soon, and hopefully you'll see that soon. Just kind of a way of expressing, you know, your situation and seeing like that you're helped, you're a lifeguard to help someone else that may not be able to talk about it yet, or they're not at their comfortable point to realize that they're able to talk about it, or they don't even know they're depressed yet. But yeah, it's definitely something triggering and stuff to you know, work with. There's one thing that I wanted to talk to you about too, and I don't know if you're going to hit it yet or not. And let me see, like, we're both social media sluts. I mean, you so more than
we
me.
Are?
I'm more of like writing, because you know I love to write. You love selfies.
Okay.
I'm
not as bad as I used to be.
You are not, and I'm proud of you for that. You stepped down off that box, and I'm
Thank you.
A round of applause for that. And there's nothing wrong with it, but this may be opening a new can of worms for this conversation, because I'm sure you're like, oh, we're ready to wrap up, but let's just throw this part in there real quick. Social media, you know, we're all missing the, you know, we all have the FOMO, which is a new term that, you know, has come about. Like, you see your friends out there, you know, in a moment, in a picture, you know, they're on the beach or they're at a club. Actually, not even this year. What am I thinking? We just got out of COVID, or not even out of COVID, but we've been locked in, which actually added another like judgment of saying, why the hell are you out? Go home, you know?
Yeah.
I think social.
Well, we didn't have those photos of all those group pictures being like, oh, I wish I was there, because the events didn't happen.
Right. But
I get what you're saying.
It was a weird year. I mean, we're all getting off that train. Hopefully soon. I'm vaxxed. You're fully vaxxed, right?
Yes, sir.
That's something like, you think that we would be totally. You think you'd think that would probably be the most anxious time of my life, is being in a pandemic that could kill you. But I was actually relaxed about it because I paid attention to it, and I was probably tuned in a little too much on stuff like the news and stuff, and I kept track of my friends, and there was a few friends that I had that actually had the virus, and I kept updating with them and stuff like that.
We lost some people. We almost lost a few more.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
It's terrifying. But like, you think like I would be, that's okay. I'm actually going to jump to something here, and I'm sorry that I'm doing this right now. I have a fight or flight mode.
No, you're fine.
So like, even if I'm having a panic attack, and like, say we're hanging out or something, and we're out somewhere, and I'm having a panic attack, and say like someone punches you or something insane happens, I will come over there, and like, my anxiety is out. I'm in here to protect you. I'm in here to make sure that this is like, you're okay, you're safe, nothing's broken. Like, that's how I am. I turn into like a Papa Bear and make sure everything's okay, which is just, to me, that boggles me, because I also wish I could put that into a serum or whatever and inject that in my arm and be like, I guess it is a serum with what is it when they push into your heart to get you going? Like,
adrenaline?
Yeah, adrenaline. I can't even think of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, but that's like...
Well, that's
what blows my mind.
Parasympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. And that's actually a different part of your brain that activates that.
I know.
And you don't think about it. It's uncontrolled.
Right, and it's so weird. So, I think that was something that I wanted to touch base with earlier. Like, that when I know someone else I know is in trouble, I will flip the switch and get out of my head and be able to turn everything off around me to make sure my friend or my family member is okay. or anything like that. So I think that's probably why I wasn't so anxious during a pandemic, because I was worried about other people and protecting myself and my family. But yeah, I don't know why it took this route, but seriously, we can talk about mental health. Like there's so much to it.
We can. I mean, I'd be down to do another part on this, because it's not even just anxiety and depression.
Right.
There's just a lot more mental health. We've got people that are bipolar, that have different mood personality disorders, and
definitely don't.
They don't always tell people they have those either, but they deal with them on a daily basis. And I know a lot of them take medication, and they have to fight with it every day.
And bipolar,
and if you don't have those things, you don't get it, because you don't have to deal with it.
Bipolarism actually is a new term for manic depressive. So manic depressive was a totally different thing than normal, depression, and it's just crazy, all the health stuff out there. It'd be cool maybe to have a psychiatrist or a doctor to talk with about this on your podcast. But yeah, like it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely scary, and it's definitely just more common than you think. So you're definitely not alone out there. So if anyone's listening to this and they're feeling like I can't talk to anyone, or I'm too embarrassed to talk to anyone, definitely reach out. I mean,
there's hotlines too. So if you feel that you're gonna hurt someone, or if you have a friend that you think is gonna hurt themselves or someone, call the hotline. I know some people kind of worry, is it a big deal, or like, am I going to make this a big deal, or put the spotlight on them or offend them? No, like if you think someone's going to get hurt or they're going to hurt themselves, call the number and let them decide if it's something that needs to be pursued further, right? Like,
and
that's not up to you. Let the professionals take care of it from there.
And that number is definitely important, and it's 1-800-273-8255. It's 24 hours a day. That's the national suicide prevention hotline. Definitely keep that in your phone, not for yourself, I'm not saying do it for yourself, just keep it in your phone, because you don't know what you're going to run into, because you never know what's going on in someone's head. But I don't mean to scare anybody, but I just want to say, be aware of your friends, and also be aware of your mental health.
It's a way that family and friends can be supportive, right? Like sometimes you're like, I don't really know what to do with this person or how to help them, but that can be a way to do it. Just, be an ear and have that number handy, and just find ways to check in. Right. Well, that was great, Colin. I really appreciate you coming on with me today and talking about, everything that you're going through and being vulnerable. And, I do want to give people hope that, anxiety and depression is something you may have the rest of your life, which sounds dire, but finding the best ways to handle it makes it so that you're not a victim to it anymore. You can control it versus it controlling you. And I think that's a big message that I want to put out there.
Definitely.
And Colin and I are great examples of that. Colin, you've done a great job with dealing with it. You've come a long way over the past couple of years. I've watched that, and with joy, and I can see that you can still be successful and deal with these things. It doesn't have to be limiting.
I try to, and it's another thing. Is like I appreciate you saying that. It's not going to go away. I mean, it's always going to be there. I will always consider myself. I suffer from anxiety and social anxiety and depression. So that's something that's always going to be there for me, just as much as like my high blood pressure. So I'm not embarrassed by it. I want people to feel comfortable to talk to me about it. As much as like I would be a therapist, I don't want to be a therapist, but I'm definitely a friend to talk to, and definitely want to give you advice and see if I can help you find the resources to get out of that and get into a plan, get into a routine for you. Make sure that you're okay, and you can take care of this, and someone's there to help you. And I'm just a support to get you to that point if you want to. And like, I mean, absolutely, we have tons of mutual friends, Audrey, obviously, because we're idiots. Not idiots. We're bears, and we're
idiots. It's fine.
That's true. We're idiots. But like we all just know each other just from being caveman and looking at a picture and saying, "Oh, friend request, oh, follow." But I want you to know, the people to know that in our community, and if you see this podcast, you see me on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, feel free to reach out to me with any questions about that stuff, or if you're just feeling low, just someone to talk to. And if, it's just like something to do. I'm definitely around to talk, and Andre is too. Andre is a better Andre is a listener. Like he's such a good listener and supportive, and you never feel judged. And I don't think I come off as judgy. I think I came off as judgy in that one trip, but I was in a dark place. So and Andre's seen my bad.
You're good.
And my good. So
but I'm still talking to you, so obviously it's all good. Right?
You're like, right now you're in trash mode. But no, now that like you're starting to see the light of day, the light at the end of this tunnel, definitely look forward to seeing my friends. Definitely look forward to see you somewhere, some point, sometime soon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hopefully. But yeah.
Well, absolutely. And thanks again, Colin. And for anyone listening, if you would like to share your experience or want to come with us with more questions, please feel free to email thebearshareshow@gmail.com and follow wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So Apple Music, Spotify, anything like that. You'll find me at The Bear Share Show. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope all of you have a amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.